Luffy and Blackbeard are two sides of the same coin, but it doesn't end there. What if I told you Luffy having a mentor like Rayleigh is just like Blackbeard having a mentor like Shiki? This is the reason Blackbeard knows so much about the world. This is the reason why he's trying to be like Zebek, and this is the missing 10th Titanic of the Blackbeard pirates. I know there's popular options like Kuzan, Yarouge, or even Gecko Moria, but today you're gonna learn why those don't make sense and why Shiki is the best option. And a lot of you guys think you're subscribed to my channel, but you're not, so scroll down, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more One Piece content. Now, the first question that's probably coming to mind when I say that Shiki is the 10th Titanic captain, is Shiki even canon? The answer is yes. In chapter 530 during Impel Down, Sengoku name drops how Shiki, aka Golden Lion, was one of the only people to break out of the prison. And then we ended up getting another source material from the manga called Chapter 0, aka Volume 0, where they show and talk about how Shiki broke out of Impel Down. So knowing at two different places in the manga they reference Shiki doing this crazy feat, it's safe to say he's canon. Yes, he appeared in movies, and you know, movies are not entirely canon, but that is irrelevant because Luffy's in movies, but we know Luffy's canon. So with Shiki breaking out of Impel Down, this is very important to know that yes, he's a character in the story, and he's an important one at that. The second question probably coming to your head is like, will he come back into the story? What's the point of that? Well, there's a lot of points to that. If you read through Chapter 0, aka Volume 0, they talk about how Shiki has a master plan that it's going to take some years to accomplish. Whether it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it doesn't matter. That was a big emphasized point in Chapter 0. Knowing that Chapter 0 is canon, it's from the manga, it's from the source material, it has to mean something that he's planning something big. This was the same guy that went toe-to-toe with Roger. They had Ed War. Like, this guy is a very calculated person, and for them to have his master plan introduced in Chapter 0, it has to come to fruition. He has to come back into the story at some point. Another thing that supports this is everyone that was around during Rock's era is still around today. We see Kaido, Big Mom, Garp, hell, we even see Captain John, Wang Shi, Silver Axe. Like, we still see the Rock's pirates around till this day. Yes, some of them are pirates under Gecko Moria. There's so much emphasis on the Rock's pirates still being around to some extent. And even during the Wano arc, when Kaido and Big Mom team up, they explicitly say the Rocks is back. So for Shiki to be left out in the mix when he went toe-to-toe with Roger and being a Rocks pirate, I don't see why he would be the one that's being left out. That just doesn't make sense to me. So knowing he's a canon character and all of his affiliates and even members of the Rocks pirates are still around, that is a fair argument to say that he will be reintroduced into the story. Another question you might have is, why would he be the 10th commander? The whole point of the secret commander under Blackbeard is that they don't know who it is, what they're up to, and stuff like that. It's more so political, it's more so planning. I don't think it's gonna be someone that's super strong and like their whole purpose is a powerhouse. I think it's someone very valuable that's meant to be a secret. And given that Shiki's always coming up with plans according to Whitebeard, it makes sense that he would be a guy kept low under secret doing this master plan with Blackbeard as the 10th Titanic commander. Another thing we know about Shiki is he always wanted to team up with people, and he had like no sense of humility. Like, he would bow down and kiss your feet if that meant he was gonna reach his goals, unlike a lot of people such as Ace who don't take kindly to insults and their pride. So we see how he tried to team up with Roger, given Roger's king of the pirates or about to be, and we even see him kiss up and sweet talk Whitebeard. Like, again, Shiki's the kind of guy he will work with someone if that means he's gonna accomplish his goals. Now, we don't know entirely what his big dream is, what his big goal is, but for him to work with Blackbeard is not a problem for the story, nor is it a downgrade. Just look at Big Mom. She lost to Law and Kid, which are arguably admiral level, and we know that Shiki lost to two admirals as well. And yes, technically they were in their prime, but at the end of the day, they are still admirals. With that being said, Shiki being compared to someone like Big Mom is fair, and for him to work with Blackbeard, an emperor, a Yonko, it fits the story. Just because he's a 10th Titanic commander does not mean that he has to be below Blackbeard or inferior. He's just working with Blackbeard. So with Roger, Whitebeard, etc. not working with Shiki and not doing these grand plans and all sorts of schemes, I think Blackbeard is the dude that finally accepted. And again, during Chapter 0, we know for a fact that Shiki has a grand plan that's gonna take 20 years. And you know what lines up perfectly with that? Luffy and Blackbeard running through the New World, running through the world of One Piece. That time frame matches up perfectly with Blackbeard and his antics, taking the Yami, causing Marineford, all sorts of stuff. It lines up perfectly with Blackbeard. So Shiki could have known from the start, okay, I'm gonna work with this kid. Maybe he found him when Blackbeard was a kid, maybe he found Blackbeard later on, but the fact that they both are known for being schemers and having great plans, I think is going to in some capacity tie into each other. And even from a narrative standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to have a former Rocks pirate work with the new Rocks. I think Kaido and Big Mom teaming up to be the quote-unquote return of Rocks is just a red herring. The actual return of Rocks will be Blackbeard. Whether he's the son of Zebek, the will inheritor, in some capacity, Blackbeard is related to Zebek, especially when you even even consider how Blackbeard's ship is literally named Saber of Xebec. The only times we hear Xebec in the story is Blackbeard's ship and Rock's D Xebec. And knowing Oda's writing style, it makes sense to have a former Rocks pirate help Blackbeard, just like how a former Roger pirate helped Luffy. You could take this even further, and yes, it is speculation, but how I see Shiki with Blackbeard is like Rayleigh and Luffy. Rayleigh looks at Luffy like, hey, you weren't my captain, but I see my Captain Roger in you. So I imagine Shiki would look at Blackbeard like, hey, I see my Captain Xebec in you. This is totally something Oda would do. It's a nice, beautiful parallel between Shiki and Rayleigh. These legends, these guys that are laying low all the time. You have Shiki in God knows where in the New World, and then you have Rayleigh at Sabaody, and them helping their respective people, their will inheritors of their former captains. It makes a lot of sense to have Shiki parallel with Rayleigh in that sense. Another thing to consider is that Blackbeard himself might be the son of Xebec. I personally believe that Buggy is the son of Xebec, but we'll just roll with Blackbeard being the son. This would explain why he acts like him, why he wants to take over the world, why he named his ship Saber of Xebec. Everything lines up. But if Shiki knows that Blackbeard is the son of Xebec, why would Shiki not want to work with Blackbeard? He wanted to work with Whitebeard seemingly. He wanted to work with Roger. If Shiki knows that Blackbeard is a son, he would want to work with him in some capacity. Seeing that Shiki doesn't care about humility and he was working under Xebec, I don't see a problem with him being under the new Xebec, especially with his age. I'm pretty sure at this point Shiki fell off and he's just like a mastermind kind of dude. I don't think he's as strong as his prime. He lost both legs. He's getting old. I don't see why Shiki would be stronger than Blackbeard. And even if he was, again, this is about Shiki working with Blackbeard. Those two working in tandem makes a lot of sense, and this would help give Blackbeard a huge boost to his master plan. Yes, Blackbeard joined the Whitebeard pirates for the Yami Yami no Mi, but there's no telling how well developed 12-year-old Blackbeard's plan truly was. Shiki himself might have even met Blackbeard before Blackbeard was 12 and he just left him on the island, who knows, but at some point Shiki had to have crossed Blackbeard's path, tell him about the road poneglyphs, maybe multiple fruits. He had to have fed him a lot of information for Blackbeard to have this huge one-up on the rest of the world. And now we're going to talk about the tinfoil evidences, the tinfoil clues that some of you agree with, some of you might not, but regardless, they are very interesting. Now, knowing that Blackbeard has the Yami Yami no Mi and therefore can create black holes, Blackbeard to some extent has control over gravity. Another character with control over gravity is Fujitora, but I highly doubt that Fujitora would work with someone like Blackbeard. But the third character with gravitational powers is actually Shiki himself. He can make stuff float with his regular devil fruit as seen in the movie, but I'm sure if Shiki awakened, he could probably pull stuff towards him as well. Do you remember when Beige was sailing through the ocean, he got attracted to some big ball in the sky? What if that ball was Shiki with like an awakened fruit? That would make a lot of sense for his fruit to act that way, and to have Shiki have this gravitational power working with Blackbeard's gravitational power. I think that's an interesting duo. It's an interesting duality when it comes to the Blackbeard pirates. With Shiki being the 10th Titanic captain, we also gotta ask who in the Straw Hats would fight him. Simple answer, Yamato. As you guys know, a lion is under the cat family, so we could categorize Golden Lion Shiki as a cat. And we know that Yamato has the Inu Inu, which is the dog fruit. This would be a perfect battle for Yamato and Shiki to have. Like dog versus cat was always a staple in One Piece. We see this all the time, one example being Zou. You see Neko Mamushi and Inurashi going after it, and clearly they are polar opposites being dog and cat. So I can see this happening again, especially with Shiki not being as strong as he used to be, plus losing both legs. Yamato would be a good fit to fight him. I even think that Yamato is borderline admiral level. Maybe you can consider her admiral level, which would just help the case of Yamato versus Shiki. Also metaphorically, you have a former Rocks pirate fighting the daughter of another former Rocks pirate. That fits a little too well, and I'm pretty much sold on that, but again, it is tinfoil. Now the next piece of tinfoil evidence, you'll either love it or hate it. It is completely insanity, but I can see it working. I can kind of see it happening. So with Shiki being the 10th Titanic captain, fits because he was the villain of the 10th One Piece movie. This isn't my ride or die evidence. I think it's kind of funny and pretty coincidental, but if it turns out to be true, I can see a lot of people making those types of jokes, and I'm gonna claim credit for that. I think it's really tinfoil, but really genius at the same time. I'm like torn. Okay, I lied. I have one more piece of tinfoil evidence, but this isn't even that tinfoil-y. So as some of you might know, Shanks is probably based on the word shank, which is an object in an anchor. The purpose of a shank is to direct and guide the anchor through the waters and making sure it's safe. In chapter 1, episode 1, we see Luffy wearing an anchor shirt, so for Shanks to be based off a shank, tank and Luffy being the anchor, it makes a lot of sense because Shanks has been guiding and keeping the balance for the anchor, aka Luffy. What if we applied similar logic to Shiki and Blackbeard? During chapter 0, Shiki got a weird incident. He had a weird accident where a steering wheel was stuck in his motherfucking head. Now, it would be pretty cool if that was symbolic and metaphorical for him guiding and steering Blackbeard. Again, this is one of those things that's super tinfoil, but if it comes true, you would look at it and be like, okay, I can see that. That makes sense. So if Oda can do that to Shanks and Luffy, why can't he do that to Shiki and Blackbeard? So that's about it for the main argument of Shiki for 10th Titanic Captain. Now we gotta talk about why the other options are not as likely. Starting with Kuzan, I highly doubt that he's going to be the 10th Titanic Captain. There's a few reasons for this, such as him talking about how he can see the world independently now. If he was under Blackbeard, working for Blackbeard as a crew member, he wouldn't have that type of dialogue and he wouldn't see the world independently. What they said is that Kuzan was in an alliance, he's an affiliate of the Blackbeard Pirates, not a crew member. That's almost trying to say like Law himself is a Straw Hat member when we know damn well that's not the case. He's just an affiliate, it's just an alliance. That's how I see Kuzan. I highly doubt him as a former admiral is gonna go under Blackbeard in that kind of sense. What fits better for the story is Kuzan actually being a part of Sword while just working with Blackbeard as an affiliate. His hands are probably full with Kobe, Drake, etc. trying to dismantle the world government, not working for Blackbeard. And technically I did use the argument for Shiki being an affiliate working with Blackbeard, so Kuzan could technically do that as well. But again, his hands are most likely full with Sword. And now for Gecko Moria, it's an argument that's just as bad as Kuzan. All throughout the story, Blackbeard's an opportunist. He kills people and takes their fruits. I don't see why Gecko Moria would be any different. For him to keep Gecko Moria alive in order to use the devil fruit is just added steps towards his goal. I don't see the purpose of him keeping Gecko Moria alive. We already had him as an antagonist. He's way too weak for the Blackbeard Pirates. I don't see any gain to keeping him alive. If anything, it just breaks set trends that we see in the story with Blackbeard killing people, giving his crewmates his fruits, and plus like when you consider how in Thriller Bark, Gecko Moria didn't do anything special with his devil fruit, it seems like Gecko Moria barely knew what he was doing with the Kage no Mi, and to give it to someone else is not that big of a problem. I highly doubt Gecko Moria was awakened, and it seems like everything he did during the Thriller Bark arc wasn't even that advanced. So for them to kill Gecko, give his fruit to someone else is not that much of a hassle. The final other candidate that we're gonna debunk is actually Yarouche. Straight off the bat, he cannot be that strong working for Blackbeard, given all of his crewmates are level 6 impelled down prisoners. Why would Yarouche fit into the Blackbeard Pirates? I have no idea. He wasn't that impressive during Sabaody, and I just don't see why he would be recruited by Blackbeard. Like, why him specifically? He has nothing to offer. I myself, I really like Yarouche. I love him as a character. He looks cool, and I hope he becomes relevant. I just don't see it in this kind of format. I don't see it in this kind of light. This whole time in the story, Yarouche has been following people's footsteps, trying to track down Kaido, etc. I don't think he's busy being the secret commander, the secret captain of the Blackbeard Pirates. It's clear that Oda is setting up a huge revelation, a huge plot twist with this 10th Titanic captain that's going to be someone we know, someone formidable, someone smart and calculated like Golden Lion Shiki. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I have a video on my side about Shanks and the ancient weapon Uranus. It's actually mind-blowing and it's insane, and I'm not gassing it up just because it's my video. But please take care of yourselves, and of course, please have yourself a damn good one.